So the other day I went hiking with 15 other hikers following the rare adventure team to hike Gunung Hitam, or in English, Black Mountain. It's located in Ulu Langat, Selangor, and it's about an hour's drive from KL. Gunung Hitam is 1,220 meters or 4,026 feet high and is supposedly a total 15 kilometers or a 6-hour hike to the peak and back. We started off in the misty morning, had a briefing, did our warm-up, and trekked our way from the parking lot to the trailhead, which was probably the easiest part of the hike. We then reached Sungai Lui, had to cross the river since there wasn't a bridge, and then went into the trailhead. The first 3 to 4 kilometers on the mountain was relatively okay. I think after we crossed this small stream, that's when the trail got steep. Goodbye my shoes because the front soles tore off. And I was constantly catching my breath whenever there was an incline because I'm not fit like everyone else. About 2 hours in, we arrived at this huge landslide site that provided us with a nice view of KL. Our guide said that the landslide was recent and without it, we wouldn't have any great views from the mountain. Passed another landslide on the way, and I also got this really nice view of the Langat River or Semenyih River Reservoir. Eventually at 10:45, I was the last person to arrive at our checkpoint at Batu Besar, which literally means big rock. After a few minutes rest, it was another hour of grueling ascent to the peak of Gunung Hitam, and we finally arrived at the peak at noon. In total, it was 3.5 hours of hiking to the peak. There wasn't that much of a view on the peak, but just knowing the fact that I've spent time and energy getting there was kind of an accomplishment. But I didn't know that that wasn't the only thing that we'd be doing that day. Had our quick lunch, and that was when everyone in the group decided that instead of just descending the way we came in, we were going to do a Trans-Langat loop, which meant we were going to 3 other mountain peaks and then out to a highway back down to the parking lot, which also meant that the track would be 16 kilometers on trail and adding another 20 kilometers on road. We took a group picture and then off we went to our next stop to Gua Jepun, or Japanese Cave. It was probably a hiding place for Japanese soldiers during World War II, but no one knows for sure. While making our way to our next stop, the foliage became denser and our guide had to clear off the trail, like crawling our way through some bamboo trees like this one. We finally made it to our next stop at Bukit Resam Ambat at about 2 p.m. where we met another small group of hikers which joined our lineup. I started to not take so much footage after that as I was tired and aching most of the time. Before we knew it, we arrived at our third peak, Gunung Batu Resam. The peak was so narrow we couldn't fit everyone in the place. This was one of the traffic jams we had as our guide was cutting through the forest. The trail hasn't been trekked by anyone for the past week or so plants had grown in instead. At 4 p.m. we finally made it to our last peak, Bukit Batu Bulan. By now we've been trekking for like 8 hours since we started, and that's when it rained. At about 5:30 p.m. we arrived to one of the landslide spots that was on the trail back to the highway. Our guide was doing his best to make a passable trail for us to go through, but then it wasn't so fun now since we weren't sure how far we were from the exit. Along the way, he also made a trail for everyone to rappel down using a palm tree. It was kind of fun, to be honest. It was getting dark, so we had our headlamps on, and to be honest, I was really worried if we were ever going to get out of the jungle that night. We were looking for a trail, but in the end, we were walking in a small river, which later we found out that the river was the trail that we were looking for. We finally reached the riverbank, and that's when our guide says we're almost near the exit of the trail. Everyone had to climb up this steep, slippery, trailless slope, which I think everyone slipped down. For me, I used up all my strength I had left to get up that slope because if I didn't, I thought I was gonna die in the jungle. After 11 hours of hiking, we finally exited the trail and we still had another 12 kilometers to walk down the highway back to the parking lot. For me, I only walked 7 kilometers with another guy until we were picked up by our guide with his car and finally reached the parking lot at about 9 p.m. or so. And that's my story of my day hike to Gunung Hitam and unexpectedly doing a Trans-Langat almost full loop. Don't think I'll ever hike this mountain again. By the way, I came back with many bruises, scratches, leech bites, a really bad rash on my right arm and left arm as well, ruined shoes, and I also lost my watch along the way. I basically had a very good time. はい、以上です。ご視聴ありがとうございました。